In this video, we're going to cover Rosh Chapter 1 on the consonants. This is the introduction to the Hebrew writing system. If you read the rest of the Rosh chapter, especially the beginning, you'll see some introductory comments that Rosh provides as to the Hebrew alphabet and the fact that it is written from right to left, as opposed to left to right. This makes Hebrew seem quite a bit daunting to a lot of new students, but don't worry. The fact of the matter is many of the world's languages are read from right to left, so this is not unusual. And after you spend a few weeks studying and reviewing and practicing, this will seem like old hat, and you'll wonder why English doesn't do it the same way. Anyhow, what I'd like to do in this first section here is to actually introduce you to the way I write the letters and the order of the letters, the sounds of the letters, and the transliteration for those letters. These are consonants, not vowels. And Hebrew has 22 consonant symbols. But those 22 consonant symbols are distributed over 23 sounds. And so typically people will say that there are 23 letters or 23 consonants. However, in two cases, the same symbol is used. There is just a distinction in dot placement. We will get to that in just a moment. But Rosh gives you a way to write the Hebrew consonants, and I do write my Hebrew consonants for the most part the same, but with some distinctions. And if you go to animatedhebrew.com, Charles over there gives you a writing system that is again fairly similar to Rosh, but with some differences as well. So you could adopt any of our writing systems. As long as you follow them closely, you'll be able to read and spell Hebrew. But I want to at least show you how I tend to write my letters. So I'm going to do that on this board right here. The first letter of the Hebrew alphabet is the letter Aleph. Down, back up to the top right, bottom left. Down, top right, bottom left. But what you're going to notice with respect to the Hebrew consonants is they tend to fill the whole line. I've not gone all the way up to the top, but if you can imagine a box for each of these letters, these consonants are going to pretty much fill a box. So if I were being really genuine about this, I'd start way up there and then come all the way down. Okay, so that's the letter Aleph. How is it pronounced? That's the question, right? It is transliterated with this little symbol here, which looks like an apostrophe. Okay, that's the English transliteration. English transliterations are representations of English sounds that are supposed to map onto the Hebrew sound. But of course, in English, we don't have a letter that looks like that. That is simply an apostrophe mark, and that apostrophe mark has nothing to do with the sound of the Aleph. It is what's called in linguistics a glottal stop, and basically it represents the sound that you get between the word up and the word o. Right here, that is the sound, o, and it's the sound. It is not an a sound. It's a sound, and any vowel could come after it. I, o, u. And Aleph could be in front of any of those vowels. So that is the letter Aleph. The second letter of the Hebrew alphabet is the letter Bet. The letter Bet is written this way. Let's write it again. I'm going to avoid going all the way to the line because I find that my drawing program tends to grab some of the boxes. Now, Bet is a consonant that can take a dot inside of it. So you could see the bet with a dot or without. The letter Bet makes a B sound when it has the dot in it. Okay, so that is the B sound. It's transliterated that way. And when the dot is missing, and this dot is called a dagesh, and this is a Hebrew word for dot. With the dot, the Bet is pronounced as a B, B, as in boy. Without the dot, it is pronounced as a V sound, as in victor or victory. When you transliterate the Bet without the dot, you're actually going to write it as a B with a line underneath. So I'll rewrite that here, to B with the line underneath. All right, so bait. Aleph, Bet. If you are wondering, yes, this is similar to the sound of alphabet, and the Greek letter alpha and the Greek letter beta is actually based on the same alphabet that the Hebrew was based on, which is the Phoenician alphabet. That's why some people refer to the sequence of consonants in the alphabet as the Aleph Bet. The next symbol, third letter, is a Gimel. And it can be written with a dot or without. So I've written this one a little bit better, I think. So the Gimel is a G sound when it has the dot. Of course, it's translated in English as a G. And when it is lacking the dot, it's a G with a line underneath it. So there are several consonants that could take the dot or not take the dot. As you learn them, I'd like you to write them with the dot in them for your alphabet as you're practicing, so that you can get used to knowing which ones take the dot and which ones don't. Okay, so Gimel takes a dagesh. When the dagesh is in the Gimel, of course, not only will you transliterate it with a G, but historically it would have been pronounced as a stop consonant, just like the Bet. A stop consonant is a consonant where you have a full stoppage or closure of air and then a release. Notice with the Bet, the B sound, the two lips are closed all the way, cutting off all the air, and then the air is released. B, B. Same thing with the G sound, except instead of at the front of the mouth, it's back in the velar area of your mouth, right before the throat. G, G. But you'll notice that your tongue is moving up to cut off the air completely before there is an explosion of air with the release. G. Now, when the Gimel lacked the dot, historically it probably would have been pronounced like where there isn't a complete stoppage of air, just like the Bet without the dot is pronounced not as B but V. So today, in modern Hebrew and in biblical Hebrew instruction, most professors do not draw a distinction in pronunciation between the Gimel with the dagesh and the Gimel without the dagesh. However, the transliterations will draw that distinction, because in transliteration, what you need to know if you're reading an English transliteration is whether the dot is there or not. The next consonant is the consonant Dalet, and it looks like that. You'll notice that it moves over to the right and then has a downward stroke, and there is a little bit of what I call an overhang. Some people just make it a sharp point right there, but I like the overhang there, and the reason I do is because it helps to distinguish this letter from the letter Resh, which is rounded right here on that corner. So the Dalet is a D sound, D, and as you guessed, it can't take the dot, the dagesh. So let's write our dalet a couple more times here. D, 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 d. Without the dot, we will transliterate the dalet as a D with a line under it. So I hope you're getting the pattern here with these consonants that can take a dagesh. The way I like to think of it is this. Plus dot in Hebrew equals minus line in English. So if I have the presence of a dot there, say in the Bet, then there will not be a line in my English transliteration. On the other hand, if Hebrew is minus dot, then that equals plus line. So notice, if I'm lacking the dot, minus dot in the Bet, then I have a line, a plus line in the English. Okay? So there are 6 consonants that can take these dagesh dots. We are going to learn them very soon here, but these are the first 3. So Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet. Say that with me. Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet. The next consonant is called Hey. And it is written this way. Do not forget this open space right there. The Hey is an H sound, as in hey, you, or hooray. Simple H sound. Some people mistakenly put the dot this way. The dot does not go on this top area, it actually goes on the side. So this is a no-no. We want the line to be short on the left side, leave some space there. Hey. Say that with me. Hey. The next consonant is a vav. With the vav, we come over and go down. So there's a little hook there. Some people will just write it like that. I tend to give it a little bit of that slant there on the top. This vav, formerly pronounced wow, historically in Hebrew, I do believe that they pronounce it as a w sound. Most modern Hebrew pronunciation goes with vav, but I'll have reasons for why I think it originally was wow when we get to those points in the grammar. But you're going to notice that this is a very skinny letter. Vav is skinny. Most of these consonants that we've seen are wide except for the Gimel. Gimel is a skinny letter. Elsewhere they are wide. So a V sound. That does mean that the Bet without the dagesh, which also is pronounced V, will sound similar. You'll have to be careful when you're pronouncing these consonants and writing them down. So we have Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav. Zayin is the next consonant. And it's also a skinny letter. So your little stroke here down to the left, followed by a pretty straight line. You will notice that the Vav and the Zayin are very similar, except you have this extended stroke that goes beyond the cross line here. They're both skinny letters. This is a Z sound. So we have W for the Vav. Some people will also use a V for it because it does sound like a V in most modern pronunciation. But I will still use the W even though we're pronouncing it as a V. And then for the Zayin, our transliteration is the Z, plain and simple. Over here, the Hey, is transliterated as an English H. Now the next consonant is the letter Chet. Chet. This is a guttural consonant. It is produced in the back of the throat. Most Americans are very uncomfortable pronouncing this consonant. We will write it this way. Forget the double line here. There we go. So the Chet is closed. This will distinguish it from the Hey that we saw earlier. The Chet is a English H with a dot down below it. Not that far away. So let me write that again. And not that close. That's about where it goes right there. Okay, so that dot distinguishes the Chet from the Hey. Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zayin, Chet. Next consonant is Tet. I do write this differently from Ross. I start here, go down, and come up. I don't put any fancy tails here, and I don't put any fancy tails here. So it's down, around, and up. Up, down, around, and up. This is a T sound, and it's transliterated as a T with the dot underneath it, just like the Chet is a Hey with the dot underneath it. So this is Chet and Tet. We will find another Hebrew consonant that also sounds like a T in just a few minutes. So, again, repeat after me. Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zayin, Chet, Tet. After the Tet is Yod. Yod is a very small consonant. Hangs out at the top of the line. It doesn't even go down halfway. And it's just a little stroke. Yod. Just like that. Some people do make it a sharp point on the edge, like that. I think I tend to keep them rounded. So there's your Yod. Jesus makes reference to not a tittle jot, or a tittle will pass away from the law. A jot has to do with the Yod here, and the tittle is something like the little stroke here on the Zayin, or here with the Dalet. When Jesus is referring to the jot or tittle, he's referring to the shapes of the letters of the Hebrew alphabet as it was written in his day. And he was saying that it has authority. God's word has authority, all the way down to the very words. The Yod is an English Y, as in yes, or yo, when it functions as a consonant. As we will see in the next chapter, the Yod can also function as a vowel, as does the Hey and the Vav at times. So Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zayin, Chet, Tet, Yod. Next we have Qoph. Qoph is basically a C that's backwards, nice and wide. Yod is small, Qoph is big. Back to big letters. Qoph can take a dot in the middle. And, of course, if it can take a dot in the middle, it also might be missing the dot at times. When the dot is represented, it is a K in English transliteration, and when the dot is missing, the K has a line underneath it. The dotted Qoph, the K sound, is this hard stop consonant. Cat, Kimberly, cucumber. When it has the line underneath it, it is pronounced like the CH in the word Bach. Bach, Bach, Bach. Like Johann Sebastian Bach. The Kaph also has a final form. That is to say, when the Kaph is written at the end of a word as the final letter, it is not written as the simple rounded Kaph here. Rather, it is written in a final form, which looks like this. It looks basically like a Dalet, except it extends below the bottom line. When the Kaph is final, you will not expect to see the dot in it. It will be lacking the dot. So there's the final Kaph. Again, always bring that Kaph down below the line. Sorry, it shouldn't be crooked. It should be a straight line. Kaph. The next consonant is a very pretty consonant in my opinion. It's the only consonant that starts above the line, and it's the letter Lamed. I made this a little bit skinnier than I normally do. There we go. There's the Lamed there. Start above, come around, go down. Above the line, down. Do not start it at the top of the line and do something like that. That makes it look so small, and it hurts my eyes to see the Lamed written that way. Lamed is beautiful, like a peacock. Let it flow the way it's supposed to. This is an L sound in English, like licorice, lime. Mem is going to be the letter M. So go ahead and write the transliteration there. I start down, go over, make a little stroke here. Just like that. Down, up, across, stroke. You'll leave some open space here. Not much, but a little bit. So that's the Mem. The Mem has the final form as well. When it's final, it looks like a little box with a little overhang there. Remember, final forms are when a consonant that takes a final form occurs at the end of a word. So there's your Mem. The next one is Nun. Nun is a very skinny letter. It's an N sound in Hebrew, and it also takes a final form, which some people make it like a sharp point there, or some people leave a little overhang there. So I will do it either way, but the final form of Nun basically looks like the non-final form, except that this is straightened out and goes below the line. So again, to write this Nun, non-final, final. Non-final, final. So let's repeat some of these consonants. Back up here, we have Tet, Yod, Kaph, Lamed, Mem, Nun. Almost done. Let's talk about Samekh. I will skip the line. Samekh will be an S symbol, and this is written almost like a sigma in Greek, if you've ever taken Greek. You need to make sure you extend just a little bit past where the connection is. You don't have to leave any space there. Some people write it fast enough that they don't put the space, just as I'm doing. Some people will maybe start it here and come out like that. give it a little curl at the end. You can do that if you want. But it needs to be nice and round and wide. And it's an S sound, as in Sally, silly. Ayin is spelled this way. Start at the top right, come down, go back, and make a line that intersects it around the middle. Down, and over. So it looks like a Y, except backwards. It's a nice wide letter. How is it transliterated? It's the exact opposite of the Aleph. It is a backwards apostrophe. Just as we had a little bit of difficulty conceptualizing the sound of Aleph, many people also have difficulty conceptualizing the sound of Ayin, at least those who speak English. Today it's really not pronounced in modern Hebrew. The Aleph and the Ayin are both silent, and so you can't tell the difference in pronunciation. But historically, this would have been a very deep guttural consonant. La, la, lion, lion. Way back in the throat, way back past where the G is pronounced in the back of your throat. This is what's called a guttural consonant. I will not pronounce it fully gutturally as it would have been back then. I'll pronounce it like an Aleph, but you do need to be careful, be aware that it's easy to misspell letters when they sound the same. So pay attention to whether you're dealing with an Aleph or an Ayin. One more comment, by the way, is that the word for Gomorrah in English as well as in Greek is spelled with a G, Gomorrah. But in Hebrew, the word Gomorrah is actually spelled at the beginning with an Zayin, Gomorrah. And so you can see why the Septuagint translator would have transliterated it with a G, with a gamma. The next consonant is the letter Pei. I write my Pei this way. And it can take a dot inside as well. Transliterated like that. It's P. So let me write it again. Up, down, across, line. Up, down, across, line. Dot or no dot. With the dot, it's a stop consonant. P, 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 as in pow and papa. And then when we write the Pei without the dot, it is transliterated as a P with a line under it. Remember, plus dot means minus line in English. Minus dot means plus line in English when it comes to the dagesh point. When I'm lacking the dot, this is pronounced really as a PH or as an F sound. Okay? So that would be a F. F. So pop and foo. Now the Pei has a final form in Hebrew as well. That's what it looks like. It does extend below the line, so it looks like the normal Pei, except you just need to keep on writing it when you get past. Instead of curving it around, keep it going straight. There is no dot in the final Pei. And so it will be pronounced as the P with the line under it, F, F. So hard P, P, and the soft P, F, F. Now let's look at the next consonant. The next one is called Tsadi. Pronounced Tsadi. It looks like this. So I come down to the right, over to the left along the baseline of the bottom line, come back up, add another strip.
I don't put any fancy strokes here. Again, down, over, back up, down. You don't have to leave space there. Go ahead and close that up. Connect it. Nice, wide consonant. Don't make it skinny. The Tsadi is transliterated in English as an S with a dot under it. Originally, it would have been pronounced as an S with constriction in the throat. Not just S, but sa, sa. Nowadays, people will pronounce it as a TS sound, as in hits or eccentric. Tsadi also has a final form. It looks like this. It will extend below the line. Sort of looks like the top, but instead of stopping here and moving to the left, you can continue to go down, but the back is a little bit straighter than it is here. Make sure you go down below the line. It doesn't have to go way below the line, but it does need to extend below. The line here is probably just a little bit too short, so let me change that. There you go, final Tsadi. Qoph is the next one. It is the letter Q in English. Starts up at the top and then comes down below the line. The head of the Qoph pretty much fills the space that you're going to fill with most of your other consonants. Nice and wide, and fills the whole box, as it were. But then the stem has to go below the line. So it sort of looks like a P in English, but it is not a P sound. It is a Q. Not the Q of quiet. It's going to be, well, we don't have any Q sounds that sound like it, but it'll be pronounced like a K sound, but it's transliterated as a Q. So again, one more time. Qoph, Qoph. Also, remember that this is pronounced differently than this symbol, which is Kaph. So Qoph, Kaph, Qoph, Kaph. The next consonant is one that looks like the Dalet that we've seen. It is a Resh, which is an English R. It's rounded here. It's going to take up all the space, nice and rounded and wide. Okay, again, this is to be distinguished from the Dalet, which is pointed or has an overhang, where the Resh is rounded. If you can remember R, Resh, and the word rounded, right? You can remember rounded. So the Resh is rounded. The Dalet has the point. Otherwise, they look almost identical. Probably in ancient Hebrew, the Resh was pronounced more like a French R. So, ora, ora, ora. A little bit further in the back of the throat. Sometimes the Resh is grouped together with the gutturals, Ayin, Aleph, He, and Chet. All of those are also pronounced further back in the throat. So that is the Resh. The next consonant looks like this. Down, up, come back, connect the line, and put a dot on the left-hand side there. This is a consonant called Shin, Seen, and it is transliterated with an S and a little line there. That distinguishes it from the Samekh, Seen, but it is a simple S sound, as in Sam and sick. You might be feeling a little sick at the end of this with all the different new consonants. Seen.
dot on the left. And this is to be distinguished from another Hebrew consonant that is written with exactly the same symbol, but the S has this diacritical mark over it, and this is called Shin. And that's not an S sound, but an SH sound. So, Sin, think S, Sin, Shin, SH sound. They are written exactly the same way, except for the placement of the dot. Now, as a funny political joke, some people appreciate this and some do not. But when you think about how to pronounce this, this is Sin. It makes you think of the word sin, and if politically you were in sin, you would be on the left. Of course, righteous people are on the right, but sin is on the left. So if the dot's on the left, it's sin, and it's the consonant sin. The dot's on the right, then it's Shin. All right. The next consonant and the final consonant is called Tav, and it's written this way. So it looks sort of like a Hey and sort of like a Chet, but not quite. The Chet is pointed here, and as is the Tav, but the Tav has a little foot at the bottom, and you don't see that on the Hey or the Chet. And this is transliterated as a simple T symbol in English, and it sounds like a T when the dot is inside. T, T, T. Complete closure, stoppage of airflow, and then release. So we'll write this again. Make sure that dot goes in the middle. And then without the dot. Okay, without the dot, it is transliterated as a T and a line under it. It will be pronounced as a TH. Th, th. Okay, so those are the Hebrew consonants. And you want to practice these, write them over and over in that order. Let's review the consonants. And you can repeat after me, and we will work through these. We have Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, He, Vav, Zayin, Chet, Tet, Yod, Kaph, Lamed, Mem, Nun, Samekh, Ayin, Pe, Tsadi, Qoph, Resh, Sin, Shin, Tav. Those are the 23 letters, consonant letters of the Hebrew alphabet.